Good.
So it says that we are live already. Hello all.
Hello.
Please do let us know if you can hear us, what as well. Today we're hosting Omid Saheb at the Ask Your Mentor Anything live on Facebook and YouTube. Please do let us know if you can hear us, what as well. I don't see people yet watching us. Okay, there are some people watching us. So please do let us know if the sound is okay, if you can hear us, what as well.
Hello,
Where
everybody.
where are you watching us from? And we'll have the comments here. We are live at the same time on Facebook at Mentoring for Translators group, on YouTube and my public page, and I'm going live on Instagram as well right now, just to announce them that we are going to be live on the other social media. Okay. Yes, perfect sound, says people. If you want your name to show above us, please do click on the link above the actual live, which says that you have to give your permission in order to have your name shown here. So I see that someone commented, so your name doesn't show unless you click the link above us. So hello, we are live again on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. Today's topic is going to be the secrets of language service providers agencies. And we are hosting today Omid Saheb. Welcome, Omid, from Spain. Where are you based?
Hi, I'm from Barcelona.
Oh, lovely.
Nice Barcelona. And today is a sunny day, so everything starts fine this day.
Okay, that's lovely. I love Barcelona. So, hello, Francis, watching you from Brazil, they say. Thank you for being here with us. And today's topic is going to be the secret of LSPs. So if you want us to join us, go on the Mentoring for Translators group, starting out as a translator group on Facebook and YouTube channel under my name and the public page as well. So before we start, I would like you, Omid, to introduce yourself to those that they might not know you already.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for having me in your channel.
Thank you for accepting the invitation.
Of course. Well, my name is Omid Saheb, and I am a translator, born and raised in Barcelona, Spain. Although my name is not very Spanish, it's because my family is from Iran originally, but they stayed here, and I was born 1982, so all my life and education has been performed here in Barcelona. Thus, I am Spanish and Catalan native speaker. I also do speak Persian, but more in the family environment. And I started my career as a translator in 2009, but I graduated in 2012. And in the last 5 years, I've been performing project management tasks for a couple of agencies. One of them, one of the top LSPs, which was TransPerfect. It's been already one year that I'm no longer an employee, and then I started with another agency from Denmark, a smaller one, and very different in terms of working and structure. I also do collaborate with a friend of mine's blog that you already know. She's Olga Jensmik.
Of course. And you are also a blogger at her blog. You say the name, it's in Spanish.
Yeah. From time to time. I only have one article in there from a few years, from a couple of years ago, talking about the LSPs and their structure. What are the different departments that I will also extend here.
Okay.
And I will shortly publish another article talking about translation tests.
Okay.
And I
That's
hope
very
it will
interesting.
Yeah, and I hope it
Yeah.
will be ready in a couple of weeks. So I hope you all can have a look at it and let me know.
Okay. Can you
And
share
yeah,
the links later underneath the actual live?
sure.
Okay. Hello from Sicily, they say. Hello to Sicily. Great audio and video. Thank you for joining us.
I love Sicily. I was there.
Yeah, Sicily, never been, but I would love to go there.
Oh, it's marvelous.
So, you are just starting out as a freelance translator, is that correct?
Yeah.
But how did you start out as a project manager for those that might be interested in, like, doing a career like yours, for example, if they want to start out as project managers?
I was working in an engineering company. They were providing services to petrochemical companies and major energy and environment companies. And I was there. I was doing a job that it was helping project managers. So I was the document controller, and I was just managing all the documentation of the projects, and I was classifying them, making sure that they were following the standards. So at that moment, I got interested in the project manager position, but of course, not in that industry because I was not able to access that. So I started to look at the jobs in LinkedIn and investigating about language service providers, which were the main ones, which were based in Barcelona too. And I found the job offer in LinkedIn.
Okay, that's
And
great.
I just applied, and it was pretty quick, I have to say, and unexpected, because so far I was not involved in the relationship with LSPs. I was always doing stuff on my own or related to other industries.
Okay.
And it was like very surprising and in a positive way.
Of course, and it's very clever. Like we hear a lot about LinkedIn and how to use LinkedIn to get jobs, but we actually never like hear the results of such a research. So it's very nice. Like you can say that you did actually find a work on LinkedIn, and you did actually actively looked for a work and a job there. But okay, in your position, you were looking at that time for an in-house position of a project manager.
Yeah.
Okay. And since then, you changed any position, or this was the first time? And the second time that you changed the position, it was through referrals, through LinkedIn again?
No, at TransPerfect, I mainly work in two departments as a project manager. The one was for fashion companies, and the other one was for media. In media, I stood for about 6 months, and then after that, I moved to the other company because a former colleague of TransPerfect started there, and then we were just in touch, and I just applied.
It was a referral.
Yeah.
It was a referral. I like to discuss about client acquisition strategies and how we get our jobs, so that's why I mentioned that.
Sure.
Okay, so is there anything else? We said, how did you start out? And now let's say your next step in your career is to start out as a freelance translator. So your stage is like starting out as a freelance translator right now. Is that correct?
Yes, that's the idea. In fact, I think I never stopped looking for that, but now it has become more active.
Okay.
Because of my personal situation, of course, but also because it's an objective I want to pursue. I have to say that I had some progress, at least. Okay. I am now working with one language service provider. I'm not getting like the amount of work that I wish, but of course that's a job in progress, and we cannot only limit ourselves to one language service provider. We still have to be looking for more and more providers actively. And let's see how it goes.
And before we get into our topic, what have you done already to search for jobs as a freelance translator?
Mainly, I have looked. First of all, I have looked in the web. One thing that I found very useful is to have a list of companies or LSPs that are probably the top ranked. If you know the NIMSI
Yes, of course. Yes.
corporation, well, they recently have published the top 100 LSPs in the world
in terms of
in
their
terms
income,
of their
growth.
income. Yeah,
because that doesn't always connect with the quality of cooperation that we have with an LSP.
No. Okay. No, of course, but it's at least is a list, so you can go and search on the website, and because that will already give you an idea. Okay, so this is the top 100, so I will go to the website and see where is the freelancing page, so you can apply it to that, and then. Yes.
I've seen that list, so it's a great resource for those who would like to check out. We will share the link later.
And apart from that, they have like a watch list, which is not the top 100, but other companies that their performance in terms of income has been close to be in that list, or they were in the last year, but this year they were not, or because they had lower income or whatever. But
on the same website that you mentioned already. Okay.
Yeah. I have the links. I can provide them later. But
cool. Yeah, great. Thank you for sharing this, because it's a great resource. And from the aspect of project management, and as a former project manager, what should a translator should look for on an LSP in order to apply for a job there?
Well, first they need to know the exact way of contacting them. Some LSPs have like a page where you can just fill in the information and then send the.
I need 1 minute to bring the battery, to charge. Okay. Yes, please share the links, says Francis. Hello, Francis. So yes, of course, he will share the links later underneath this live. So you can continue, and I'm coming back, okay?
Sure. So yeah, I was explaining that in order for you to look for a position or to work as a freelancer with an LSP, first you need to know how to contact them, because some of the agencies have on their website like a form to fill in, and then you can just fill all the information and attach your CV or connect your LinkedIn CV to them. Or some of them, they may have like an email of contact, of course. Or maybe
that was it. Very okay. So I heard that you said that we have to go on their website and see if they have any form to fill in. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's one thing. Maybe the other ones have an email of contact, like info at whatever language address is. Or sometimes what I do is, for example, if I have searched at LinkedIn some of the LSPs, I search for the list of workers and I see if there is any vendor manager. I just try to maybe I send a private message to say, hello, and sorry to contact you via LinkedIn, but I would like to know how can I apply for becoming freelancer. Usually people is quite nice, so I have to say that in fact recently I couldn't find any vendor manager, but I found the CEO of an LSP, and I contacted him directly.
Cool. Okay, and that was a big LSP or a medium size?
Medium size, because it's very specialized. They are based in Sweden.
Okay.
And well, I haven't received any reply from them, but of course that's for me to follow up every once in a while, like a couple of weeks.
So did you reach out the CEO of the company, you said, on LinkedIn directly on Messenger? Yeah. And what did he say?
He said that thanks for emailing me, that I needed to go on their website, that there is a form specifically to be filled in, and I just thanked him and just went and then that's it.
Yeah, I'm repeating myself, but you see, it works. It works like the direct outreach on LinkedIn or on their website. It really works. So thank you for sharing your own experience on that, because it shows that some strategies really work and you see the results.
Yeah.
So until now, you have said how is the best way to reach out the LSPs. Is that correct? You mentioned their website, if they have an online form, their contact details there, or if you search for the vendor manager on LinkedIn.
Yes.
Is there anything else you would like to add?
Yeah, there is also, of course, Proth or Translators Cafe, where that is not maybe for active search, but more for being attentive to what offers may come. So if you set your profile and you are able to receive offers from clients or from LSPs, that's for you to go and step forward. And then, but I have to say that maybe that's the least efficient one.
Yeah, I don't think that Translator Cafe is a great way. In my opinion, I've never used it.
I use mainly Proth, but I only say that maybe every 1 or 2 from 10 attempts have a reply. And then the process is still a bit tedious, but it's still a way to get some work. And I never disregard it. So so that's
there is still pros. Okay. Okay, so Francis says, I'm so scared. You see their comments when it comes to contact people from LSPs, fearing they will bite me when I ask for some bites of work, for example, he says.
Don't be afraid. I mean, the list, the worst thing that they can do is just to tell you that nothing, or tell you that they don't have work for you, which is more like a reply based on the personal situation of the person replying to you, that he or she might be stressed, or he or she might not be able to provide you a good advice.
So Francis, go after them. Don't be scared.
I mean, don't be too pushy though. I mean, don't write emails every day. But I mean, once you have an LSP, the name of an LSP, you create your own list. And maybe you have your email directory. So I have maybe 25 to 50 LSPs in my email that I just schedule, like maybe one day out a week I contact this, another day I contact another. So it's just a follow-up. It's because
so how many times do you suggest they should contact if they really want to work with an LSP? The first time and a follow-up, like twice? How many times is the best way to contact them?
I always, from the time that I sent the form or my first email, I do a follow-up in 15 days if I don't get a reply. And after that, always 15 days, more or less, because at least it's consistent, but not too pushy. If maybe at fourth or fifth time I don't receive a reply, I just stop from maybe 6 months, and then I go back, because sometimes it depends on let's say the season or the moment. There are some agencies that have more income of work at some point of the year than others. So
how can you know that? How is there any way that we as freelancers?
Well, you don't know exactly, because for example, they say that for video games, summer is a very active period, because they prepare the launches for the end of the year. So it might be a good way. For example, for medical, I don't know. For fashion, I would say that right before Christmas, November is a very busy month. Maybe, I don't know.
For a specific, you mentioned for specific specialization.
Yeah. For example, newsletters, e-marketing, and that is not specific. It's more consistent, because the amounts of the jobs are very low in terms of work count. So newsletters, they come once in a month, but you have to be, of course, preferred vendor to know that. So that's not something that I can tell you that what is the best moment. Technical and medical stuff, Also,
They
you
never
don't know.
stop. They never stop, I assume.
I guess legal is still the same.
Yeah, but
It
what
never
about,
stops.
for example, European Union bids and tenders? Is there a specific you can follow them and find out?
That's not. I've never had contact with European Union, so I'm not able to say
So
why.
to recap for those that they are joining us now, we have already, has already helped us and shared his knowledge on where to find LSPs, good LSPs, how to find them, and we're going to share links later below, how to approach them, the better way to approach them and where to find them in order to approach them. The contact, how is going to be the contact daily, like consistently, but when, how many times, and when we follow up, and what are the best months per year according to your specialization to find work on LSPs. So this is very interesting already. What I initially asked you is how to find an LSP, not actually to approach them and get work, which was very interesting what you said, but how to find an LSP according to our specialization, how to be able to distinguish a good LSP from a bad LSP. What are the criteria in such an aspect when we search online and when we start out as translators, for example? What are the criteria, how we distinguish the good LSPs or the LSPs that are good for us according to specialization, for example?
I would say that it depends on what you expect from an LSP too. So if you're expecting that they pay on time or that they send regular work, that's something that you will only discover when you are in.
Okay.
You can always have the reviews from the other linguists in Proth or in other platforms.
Okay.
Also from the link that we share later, the NIMSI one, when you download the file of the LSPs, there is a column saying which is the specialization of that LSP particularly.
That's very.
So you can also filter that and just focus on maybe on medical ones or legal ones or government ones or whatever. I would also investigate, for example, if you are targeting one of the big LSPs, since the bigger they are, they have specialized teams. Once you get in contact with the company or with the vendor manager, you just be very clear what is your specialization, so that that person can send your profile to the right team so that you can start getting work from them.
Yeah, that's a great advice that you said already, because most of the translators, they said generic CV. And this is the reason why we get so many of my mentees, like they say to me, I have sent 200 CVs and never got a reply, because they do not send CVs specialized or CVs that are showing their specialization in order, as you said, to be promoted to the specific department, for example, or to be trusted, or they feel that they are trustworthy translators in order to send them work. Francis says, how the translator can protect himself against LSPs who do not pay for the translation. That is a good question to answer. To what extent is this an actual issue to worry about?
That's a very interesting and very important question, because it's curious that translation is one of the companies that the provider, so we translators, we cannot protect ourselves from, because in the way that it's structured, you sign a contract with the client as a provider, and in that contract, so to me what is astonishing is that you cannot add clauses or negotiate some of the clauses of that contract of provider. So if you apply for an agency that you're very interested from, and then you see that the paying period is 60 to 90 days after when the job is done, is either you accept it or not, and then you have to keep a good control and track of your invoices.
Okay.
So
Do
that
you
you
know
don't.
any LSP that they are more flexible on negotiating the payment terms, or do you think that it's a waste of time for translators to do so?
No, I don't know about the flexibility of negotiation. I don't think that there is a flexibility in the negotiation,
Okay.
because it also can happen that it depends on a specific client, on a specific client from the LSP, not
Okay.
not the LSP itself. But I can tell you that there are agencies that pay the earliest 30 days, which is, I think, the most fair. And the very best very case scenario, if there are very small agencies but they have a solid portfolio of clients, they may pay you 15 days after the job is done,
Okay.
which would be great.
That's promising, yeah.
Yeah, that's they are very few, and then you can, maybe you only get to know them if you are registered in an association of translators, which is also another important thing to do. If you are a translator, you should be looking for any association of translators within your country and or internationally. Not because you can get also work from them, but because they provide you like a good portfolio of companies. They also have a classification of companies that pay in how many days or not. And there is also a debate within the members. For example, I'm from I'm at ATRAE Association, which is for translators and reviewers for subtitling jobs. And we have like an emailing list where to debate if one agency is good or not, and just ask for referrals from other translators who might have
Inside
work.
the association.
Yeah.
Okay,
They send emails to all the members and say, hey, this LSP has contacted me. Do you know anything about them? So that's also a very good source of information. It allows you to say, okay, I'm interested in that agency. I'm gonna note the name and search for them. How can I contact? Hey, I am a member of this association. I've heard that you are looking for people. I could provide services in this and that language. So that's also another way to look for vendors from your translation association within your country.
So regarding the question, the actual how to avoid non-payments or how to deal with non-payments or the risk of that, your answer is to make a research first, to be a member of an association where you can prevent such collaborations with agencies without a good review and a good classification, as you said. Would you like anything else to add to that?
Yes, let's put some example. Let's say that you are already part of the database of an LSP.
Okay.
And then you get a job, and
yeah, that was my next question. What it comes when you already have worked for an association and you have to deal with such a situation?
Yes. So let's say that you get your first job.
Okay.
But you also have a non-disclosure agreement and a vendor collaboration contract. And then the contract says that, let's say, 30 to 45 days of payment will be applied. Okay. So you do the job, you deliver. Let's say that you receive very good feedback, and then you wait. So you mark in your calendar the 30 days minimum and the 45 days. So let's say that when it comes to day 32, maybe because if there is international transfer, they take maybe 2 days, you don't receive the money. It's good that you send your PM a follow-up and inform him or her that you have not still been paid for that. And very important, ask him or her who can you contact to follow up with this issue, because the PMs they cannot provide a solution for non-payment. There is another department who takes care of that, which can be vendor management as well, or most probably it's an accountability team. So usually you should get a reply from your PM saying two things: that one, he or she will investigate which is one of the things that I used to do first. And if they cannot provide an information by investigating, they should tell you an email where you can contact those people. It's very important that you keep your project's code number. Usually when you receive job from LSPs, you get a code number. That's essential so that department can search for the job and see how is the situation. If you get an email and you contact them and you provide the information, the job number, you should get a reply maybe, let's say, in 1 week latest, depending on the amount of job they have. Also, there is maybe another system which is more automated, that you issue a ticket for the department and they will reply you 1 week, 2 weeks later. So here there is an issue that when you send your first email and until you get a reply, from 30 days might have passed maybe 1 or 2 weeks. So you might reach 45 days. Okay. So best case scenario, you should already have received your money. Worst case scenario, if you don't have received your money after the day 46, you should strongly follow up and say, hey, just be informed that this job hasn't been paid, and according to the contract that we have signed, there should be 45 days. Don't sound like menacing, but just be informative. Okay, because at some point the money will come. It just because most of the cases is because the client has not paid the LSP.
Are you sure for that? They haven't received the money from the end client, so you mean?
Yeah, most of the times.
Yeah, but still it's not a good practice, because they should have the money to pay their translators. They shouldn't depend on the client's money. If they are also a big and serious agency in LSP, as you say, they should have the money to pay their contractors and not waiting for the end client to pay them.
I do agree that that's also one thing that I have flagged to the companies that I have worked. The replies that I got were not very logical to me, because they said, okay, yeah, but we have agreed with the client to be paid at maybe at the end of the year. So yeah, but the people
at least you get a reply about the non-payment.
Yeah, but at least so if I should expect that, like, a delay in my payment, just let me know when. Because otherwise, if I'm going to work with you again, I need to know what can I expect for. So if I have, so maybe let's say that you have projects like these, like once a year. Maybe it was a 30,000 word job, but then you get the money in 6 months. Well, first you should have informed the provider earlier, because you have made them sign a contract that you will pay them in 45 days latest. So if there are special conditions of payment for one specific client and you want some vendors to work for you, hey, just know that for this client we are going to receive the money maybe in 3 months or in 6 months period. So you have to acknowledge that, and you have to accept that condition in order to work for this client. And then it's up to you whether to accept it or not, but at least you are informed.
Yeah.
But I do agree. I do agree that it's not a good practice that LSPs depend on the money of one or other client. There should be like a common.
And we get the comments from translators. Don't those companies have a cash reserve for such a situation? It's not the translator's problem. And Omid and I myself also mentioned that earlier. So yes, that should be the ideal practice. but Omid describes the reason behind of such a situation when occurs might be. So Omid says that according to his experience, in most cases when we have to encounter such a situation of a non-payment or a late payment, it's because the end client hasn't paid yet the company that we work for, and that's behind all the problem, which we both agree, yes, as you said, that should be a problem of the company, not ours. And since we have signed an agreement with them, we should be able to claim that money, and after, also Mid says, after the 30 days and until the 45 days, according to our contract. So yes, we totally agree with you that they should have a cash reserve to pay such a change. But my main issue with agencies, we are public here, but I'm going to say that, is they have some contracts, and that contracts of cooperation, they have a term when they say that we as translators should keep them safe against any commission or problem with the translation itself. So have you ever encountered such a situation when problem with the translation itself, a term, a wrong translation, an incorrect translation, has occurred any very serious situation in the company and they had to go back and ask money or may pay less money to the translator because of that?
Yeah, unfortunately, yes. That's
how common is that?
I have faced this situation maybe 2 or 3 times in my 5 years.
Okay.
Because there are a lot of factors involved in there. The most uncomfortable case for me was when I managed the translation and the testing of the website for a very large hotel company from Spain. I'm going to put you in the situation so you can see the whole picture of the project. It was a project to be performed in 3 or 4 months.
Okay.
It was the contract. The details that I remember from the contract were: we have a website that contains 46 hotels. The description of 46 hotels to be translated into 7 languages.
Okay.
And it has
to be a big problem. It was a big, okay. And
so each description of hotel was around 3,000 words, 3,500 words more or less, as average.
Yeah, plus 7 languages, plus 46 hotels. Okay.
So we had planned everything to be completed with 2 steps, translation and proofreading, within the time given. And after that, we would start with the testing phase, okay? So, which is a separate process. But the translation, was scheduled, and I was informed to use always the same team of language. So we began the recruitment. They were already in the database, so we had a pretty solid team of maybe 3-4 vendors per language, so that we could go faster. But there were still issues.
Okay.
Because at some point, client was starting to making updates on the texts while we were translating.
Okay. Yeah.
That complicates things because you have to go back, you have to retranslate.
Okay. Yes, I have seen such issues in my career myself. So.
And then the last month of the project was April, and then there was Easter in there.
Okay.
1 week before that, the client added 9 more hotel descriptions.
Okay.
And I informed the account manager, who was the person directly in contact with the client, the end client, and told him these 9 extra hotels need to be delivered later than the initial contract period, because there was nothing in the contract. Well, they didn't accept. They said, I have to fit everything in. in the same deadline.
Yeah,
And
they
that,
might
of
have
course,
maybe they had some other agreement with the end client. So
and they have any other agreement, but something happened during the process with the updates that raised some client negative feedback, some complaints, and because of that, at that point, everything in the process was starting to go way worse. So we started to have complaints because we could not assign the same text to the same vendors from the previous text. So there were differences in the style. There were different, although we had a style guide.
Inconsistencies.
So we had, we had those inconsistencies, but also other errors. So once we finished the project, they made me, okay, if we want to keep this client, we have to ask, well, there have been errors and you have to ask the translators to lower their POs. I said, I don't think this is fair because the issues caused are not objectively from the translators' work themselves, because although there were inconsistencies, there was nothing that could prove that the work from the translators was from bad quality. I mean, inconsistencies, it says that some things are not translated the same way, but
or by the same person. That's a
or
problem
by the same person.
We're dealing with very big projects, and we have to let know the client that we need more time for the
and
editing and reviewing the final copy.
And that doesn't necessarily mean that those inconsistencies are objectively wrong. Okay, so I had to do that. It was
Omid,
the most.
Omid, you are very low in the camera, so I see like your face. Okay.
Better? It's just because my chair is a little bit.
Yeah, it's okay, but I couldn't see you. Okay.
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 So I had to do that, and that I received many replies. I got angry replies. I got
from the translators, you mean?
Yeah, from the translators, of course. I got
so
angry
they
replies.
Did lower their rates. So the result was they did lower their rates.
What we agreed at that moment with my team lead is that we cannot force them to lower the rate of the PO, because there is no objective reason for them to lower that. While some did and some don't. So, but it happened.
So it was at their discretion if they would discretion, like if they would do it or not. They decided if they would lower their rates, the translator themselves. Is that correct?
Yeah, the thing here was that we reached a point of discomfort from the client side that we had to, sales and account management had to decide what do we do to keep this client. So we have to lower the amount of charge that we get from them. So if the initial contract was maybe, let's say, 100,000 euros, we had to lower that to maybe 70,000 euros.
So the company lost money. How about the translators?
As I said, some did lose the money because
they accepted that it was
some of them. Others didn't.
Okay. I find it fair enough that at least you ask them to do that, and they are not obliged to do that. Yeah, there is a point where you can negotiate that. So don't accept it if you do not feel that you are eligible for such a discount in your rate.
Yeah, of course.
That's a great story. Thank you for sharing this with us.
That's a secret.
Yeah, it is a secret, of course. And Francis, have you seen his comment? It's very long, your comment. Francis says, how do you think of third parties, scroll sites, Upwork, and Malt.fr, for example, for a payment? Can you see the comment?
Yes, but
the mediation service is not necessary for agency to be registered on the platform. In this case, the agency pays the intermediary side before starting the translator, and the translator receives the money once the service has been validated by the agency. I once worked with an agency via Upwork this way, but the agency was registered on the platform. There are also sites like your next of the comment doesn't show.
No,
So Francis, if you can show the rest of your comment, what was the question? We can answer it. It's very long and doesn't show. It stops where it says there are also sites like. Okay, I don't know Malt.fr. I know Upwork.
I'm not familiar with this method.
Yeah, and I assume they will be the rates much lower there, most probably. Olga says there are also sites like the French startup Tripartite that offers the service. Do you think that in the long term this will become more common? This is the rest of the comment. Okay. Okay. So Omid is not familiar with that. In the long term, that will become more common. I think, Francis, this depends on us and how the translators are going to be undertaking projects and contacting companies that way. But in any case, I would really advise you not to lower your rates in order to work with the intermediaries. Just to stick in the rate that can pay your bills at the end of the month. So don't make any discounts in order to work in such a platform. So because we have been talking like 50 minutes right now, and I have some questions to ask you. Let's go. Okay, we talked about if there's an offer, how to apply, if we can negotiate the rates, to what extent, at your experience, we can do that. For example, I get contacted by an agency, they offer me, for example, 7 cents, my rate is 9 cents. Is there any place that I can negotiate and get accepted my rates there?
Yes, for this I wanted to pose like 2 scenarios.
Okay.
First scenario is that when you reach to an agency and then you start creating your profile for them, and then they ask you, okay, what are your rates for whatever services you offer?
Okay.
And then they tell you, and then you provide the rates. Let's say that you have this rate of 9 cents, and then tell you, okay, but we can only pay you 7 cents. And is that like?
Yeah, that's the most common. Even
first,
less
like,
than, yeah.
First, like, it's like, why then you ask me my rate if you can only pay 7?
Exactly.
And then there is I always suggest to reply to that, okay, I understand, but my rate is 9. So since we are only creating the profile for now, can you just state that my rate is 9 and that I am open to negotiation in case your budget is lower or something like that? So that at least they know, okay, he or she is not very strict with the rate, so we can negotiate with them. And then if they offer you 7, say, could you please let me know what kind of a specialization you're expecting to pay me for 7 cents? Because if it's maybe general or press release or very common translations, maybe it's worth accepting 7 cents. Or let's say, no, we have this big client we have another project. We have a big client that it's a big beauty corporate, and they just send us product descriptions. Okay, maybe can I see a sample of a product description so I can see if there is a lot of terminology to search for, or this or that. Usually when it comes to negotiation, what I always say, have very clear your rate, and then set up a margin to negotiate, and don't go below a certain point.
Do you think that my rate is a reason why I'm not contacted by agencies, that I'm already in their database, I have taken the test, I have passed the test? So do you think my rate would be a reason of not getting jobs from there? Like they have a minimum, like to assign projects only until 6 cents, for example?
It might be one of the reasons, but it's not the only one, because the fact that project managers send job to one vendor or to another is not only because of the rate, but also because they are affected by other parameters of the budget they receive. So that's another thing that I wanted to explain. So project managers, they have to reach certain numbers, certain key performance indicators, and one of them is the gross margin. So it is the amount that you don't spend in a project.
Okay.
So you have your budget, and to reach a certain gross margin, let's say maybe 60%, which for me it's too much. So maybe from you get a budget of 1,000, you can only spend 400. Okay, and you have maybe a number of words that with the translator you have to spend 425. So that's an issue for the project manager, right? So in that case, we have to go with the cheaper option. Or what I usually did is, okay, if I cannot reach 60 in this project, I will reach 40.
Okay.
And maybe another project will come, and then I could compensate from that.
Okay, with another project. That's
So,
very interesting. Yeah.
So we as a project managers, we have to play with all this data and all with these numbers so that one, we get the best result with the less money, but also we can also reach some
My question, always I have this question because I hear a lot about the gross margin. Since the company can initially negotiate the rate at a point when they can't control the gross margin and they can accept higher rates from translators, they keep pushing and having as an excuse the gross margin while they create that from their initial negotiation offer to the end client. Is that correct?
That's difficult to say, but from the way that it's structured, so think this: vendor management, project management, account manager are very separated departments. Okay? And then you have sales department.
Okay.
So while vendor management does all the recruitment and they have instructions to negotiate the rates and that, they don't know anything about a specific project or a specific client.
Okay.
They are just instructed to say, hey, negotiate rates with vendors from 0.06 to 0.08.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, I understand that.
But they don't know the details.
Okay.
Account management, they do the budgets that, like for the end client, they prepare the budget and the invoices and send it for client approval or not. They might be in contact. They set some rules, some guidelines, and that. And then project management just receives all this information at the end and say, hey, this is the project. Go on, find vendors, and have it translated by this deadline.
Okay.
To reach all this, before there is sales, who has the job to catch a client.
Okay.
Now, in my experience, what I found the source of all the discomfort about the rates and everything is because in order to catch a client, sales sets some conditions with that client based on rates, on time turnaround times, and quality, that then makes very difficult for the project manager to be able to offer better rates, offer better deadlines, turnaround time, and also that affects quality. Let me put another example for you. I just mentioned that I worked with a very high beauty client.
Okay.
We had a project of more than 1 million words to be translated in 3 months.
Okay.
German source.
Okay.
French target.
Okay.
Now, take into account that first of all, that's not English source.
Okay. So
from German into French, you have less resources.
Okay, available translators, you mean?
Yeah. Available translators, and also the rates for those vendors is not going to be the same as for English into French source.
Of course, higher, you mean?
Yeah. But if you want to gain a client by offering him a lower rate than the average rate of your vendors, of your resources, you have to accept a lower gross margin, because otherwise there is there will be no negotiation. Let me explain.
Okay.
If as a salesman I offer a word per word translation of 0.09 cents per word from German into French, I will never reach a 60% of gross margin, because the margin, the average rate of vendors from Germany into French is 10 cents.
The end client, like the company will charge the end client 10 cents?
No.
Okay.
The LSP charges the client 9 cents, but
The end
client pays 9 cents.
isn't very low?
Is it very low?
Ah, okay.
but there is this philosophy of low business is better than no business.
I don't agree.
Me neither, but
Okay.
it's what's happening,
Mm-hmm.
because we are in a world that currently everything needs to be speeded up, with high quality, with almost immediate and the cheapest as possible. Well, we are running a business, and business has prices.
Okay.
So either, if you want, and of course if you want to use also human translation, you have to consider that, okay, if the average rate of German into French vendors is 10 cents, that means that some might be higher and some might be lower. You have to target the ones lower, because if you cannot reach a 60% margin.
Okay.
And they say, okay, and that salesperson did a good job, because I say, okay, we are not trying to reach 60%, but instead maybe 25, 30% in the best case scenario. That was good decision for that person to do. The bad decision is to charge so low to the client, but at least they lower the KPI. So, okay, once I received the project and I noticed that we charge that little amount of money, I said, okay, how am I supposed now to negotiate rates with vendors with such low budget?
Okay.
And then we had an interview with sales, and then we set some decisions, some final decisions. But now at this point, when we reach this meeting from project manager and sales, the contract has already been signed with the client.
Yes, I agree.
So the main issue here is that every department does not receive the information until sales has closed a contract with the client.
Okay, yeah, I understand that.
And then let's consider that in some companies, not all the salespeople come from the translation industry.
Of course.
If you hire a new salesperson, it might come from another industry.
Of course, yes.
So if that person is selling a product to a client without knowing what it costs, that puts all the production in high risk.
Yes, that's totally fine, but I think that translators are not interested. What they want to hear, how much did you charge the translator? If the company charges 9 cents to the end client, what would be the translator's rate?
7.
There's 2 cents.
For this thing, what I did is, like, when I started recruiting people, because at that time we had no vendor manager and I had to be vendor manager too. What I did is that I wrote an email, a template email, and say, I have a project with very strict conditions.
Okay.
Please read carefully, and if you accept the conditions, just reach to me.
Okay.
What I did is I specified, we have a project that we charge this amount, and we can only pay you this amount if we want to reach a certain level of quality, not the top, but certain level. And the last line was, we acknowledge that this is not the ideal situation, but this is also an extraordinary project we have
Okay.
for this client. And of course, it's some people discuss that, yeah, but that's not the way of doing things. The excuse of getting more work for less money, that doesn't work either, because then I can cover for the expenses that I have as a freelancer, and that or that. In these cases, what I think is that make calculations. If an opportunity of a 1 million word project for the next 3 months come, make numbers.
Okay.
If they can only pay you like 6 cents, calculate how many words per day do you translate?
Okay.
How many words do you think you can try to do more? So if your daily work is 2,500 words, and then you can reach 3,000
Mm-hmm.
on a solid basis, because the text is going to be like very repetitive. It's product descriptions, right? So the syntax is going to be very similar. So if you think you can do that, calculate. If you have more clients to take care of, okay, can I commit myself to make 1,500, 2,000 words for this client at this rate and still take care of my other
Okay,
clients?
yeah, I understand. You make an exception, you count there, and give me an example of a positive negotiation, like the translator was able to raise their rates or to succeed in the negotiation.
Usually, when a translator can raise the rate, it's not because of negotiation.
Mm-hmm.
It's because the project manager is allowed to pay more, right?
Yeah,
So
but they have to negotiate. They have to say that this is my rate and this is what I'd like to accept.
yeah, but of course, let's say that I receive a legal document
Mm-hmm.
from one language to another,
Mm-hmm.
and my main vendor has a rate of 11 cents per word.
Okay.
But fortunately, I have for this specific project. Let's say that the person doing the invoice to the final client
Mm-hmm.
has done a great job, and say, okay, this is a legal document.
Mm-hmm.
It requires stamps, certification, and that. And that person charges for that, for those services too.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the final amount allows me not paying 11 but 12 cents. Let's say, hey, preferred translator, what do you think about this project? Can you do it for, maybe it's 3,000 words, can you do it for
Mm-hmm.
tomorrow morning,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe tomorrow at the end of the day? And I say, yes. Can you apply my rate? And I say,
Okay.
yes. And then he comes back and says, okay, this is quite very specific for, it's this very specific law for maybe mechanical engineering contract, blah blah blah. So I have to keep a search. Can you get me either more time or more money so I can ask for resources or do investigation on my side? And I
Okay.
said, okay, let me calculate. And what about maybe 12 cents per word?
Okay.
And said, okay, that would be fine. Great, thank you very much.
Okay, that's a
So
very good example. I have seen in my career both of the cases, as you mentioned already, how I can negotiate my rate and accept actually my higher rate. And also, I have also encountered the other situations you said of an emergency, and you make the calculation if the volume of the project is good enough in order for you to cover your expenses, then okay, you could accept lower rates, which is not something that I usually advise translators to do. So because we are already over 1 hour, yes, please.
sorry, I just because I remembered another case.
Okay.
Since you said that emergency cases,
Mm-hmm.
now it might not be very common there, but there was one case where we had a very good client.
Okay.
They had to update the translate the terms and conditions
Mm-hmm.
text into Dutch,
Okay.
and I had a preferred vendor. Not only I was able to pay him his rate, but I also said, okay, before you send the invoice, I said to the account, okay, before you send the invoice to the client,
Mm-hmm.
that because it was a regular client,
Mm-hmm.
let me check with this vendor if he's available, because he will have to work on the weekend,
Okay.
given the amount of words and the deadline you're trying to
Okay.
have it. And I said,
Okay.
hey, can you take care of this job during the weekend? Let me know how much would you charge me. And
Okay.
he said, aside from my regular rate, I charge this amount of money to work over the weekends.
Okay.
And I said this, hey, I have the most suitable vendor for this job, but it charges this. If the client wants the quality and that, you have to take
Tell them.
the charges of the vendor and of the translator into account, and then add the gross margin that you want to expect. So
Okay.
sometimes we have also good clients and good
Yeah.
people who have also a great job, and they say, okay, we have this situation, and then they ask for the project manager. So this is very important. So in LSPs, while 80% of the cases project managers don't know the details, there is
Okay.
a 20-25% of times that there is people who already asks for the project manager, okay, how much would it cost me to do this way? So, and that's the ideal situation. That's what project managers like.
Okay, I have two very common questions from the members before we end up. We're going through those, but I'm curious, what is the highest rate that you have paid a translator as a project manager? What is the highest rate a translator can get from their cooperation with LSPs?
Which
Because the lowest we know.
language pair? It also depends.
Yeah, you can tell.
Well, let's say, for example, for Spanish,
Mm-hmm.
which is very common, and now we are facing a lower rate curve.
A decrease.
But the higher rate that I've paid to a Spanish vendor is 0.10. So
Okay. For Spanish.
10 cents.
Mm-hmm.
For German, the highest rate for English into German, a higher rate I have paid is 14 cents. But I have to say that it also included translation and proofreading.
Okay.
And then also there are the Nordic languages which can go from 12 cents to 19, 21 cents, depends on
You
the
see? For the
on the
translator, not the end client.
no, for the translator.
Okay, that's nice. I know for Greek also that they can charge 28 cents.
To
So,
the vendor. To
no, to the end client, but still the vendor can charge higher there.
No.
And so, in my opinion, it doesn't depend on the language combination, but the end client and how much are they willing to pay, and also the specialization and the quality of the work that you want.
You see, there are a lot of aspects that that affect all the rates and the money. The final thing is that not because you want to make more money, you are going to give a better result in terms that, okay, so I'm charging less because I'm going to find the cheapest person, and then I will provide the best quality. No, that it doesn't work, because you might pay a higher rate, but you can still get a bad work.
Of
So
course.
the rates the rates don't are not an indicator of quality. An indicator of
but most of the times you get very low rates, you don't expect very high quality. So it's the expectation that's not the actual result.
You only know that after the work is done.
Of course, you only know that.
Because
I don't trust people who charge very low.
Look, I found a Swedish vendor in the database who charged English into Swedish, who charged 0.05 cents.
It is very low for the language combination.
And she was very young.
Okay.
And once I got like 2 or 3 jobs from her, and I said, "Are you sure your rate is 0.05?"
Yeah.
One day at Skype, I told her, and I said, "Hey, how come that your rate is low? I mean, you have degree in translation, you have specialized in you are specialized in automotive content, which is
Okay.
very specific. You do a great job. And she said, yeah, well, to be honest, I wasn't sure to
You see, they need a mentor. They need a mentor. They need someone to tell them that you told her.
I told her I wasn't sure to how much to charge. So when I negotiated with vendor management, they told me to apply this rate, and I said, "Oh my god!" So say, okay, one thing is, I mean, don't take advantage of people not knowing something. It's like,
Who
I
told
mean,
her? Who told her to charge that rate? Who was the person who
she
was?
she told me that it was the vendor manager that negotiated her
Okay,
profile,
of course.
and I said, okay. I mean, and I told her, okay, because you're a great translator and I want you to have more work.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not for us because it's already in the database and everybody expects you to reach this one.
Mm-hmm.
But just so you know that the average rate for your language combination is that amount. But if you want to still be competitive and you want to be rich clients because you are cheap, just because you know that you are doing a great work already, just reach at least between 7 and 9. I mean, don't do 5.
Yeah, and I always advise my mentees to go and see the average rates, and there are many platforms on Pros, of course, and other platforms where they can find out the average rate of their language combination according to their specialization, of course. But because we have like very few minutes, 2 questions very hot, and we're going to answer them very quickly.
Okay.
What about the test and how to deal with them? And they asked us for a free test. For example, I don't accept tests like there are more than 300 words. What is your opinion on that?
Agreed. If it's going to be a non-paid test, it should be between 300, 600 maximum.
I don't accept.
Yeah, but it depends on the because if it's legal, of course, I would just do only 300. But for example, for games, since they are testing us in many different areas of the gaming industry, like marketing, game content, instructions, and that, so I would say between 300 and 600. But of course, 300 would be the most ideal for a non-paid test.
Okay.
And then how to face them. My best advice is that just make sure you don't leave any typos and reread it at least twice before you deliver it, and leave for those critical decisions that you have to make, leave a comment. That's my 3 most
okay, and for those that they don't want to take a free test, like for example, I'm 15 years in the business. I have a proven background, work experience, a degree, a master's degree, and so many years in experience. Why take a free test still? What do you suggest to those people?
The only thing I can tell you in that case is that there are procedures for the LSP company to follow. Some they are so rude that they say, okay, if you don't take the test, we are not able to take you the job.
Okay.
For me, that's been always an excuse.
Okay.
I don't see why you as a 15-year person of experience have to do a test, non-paid test.
Okay.
And also, I have to say this: for me, I'm not very in favor of tests, because the only thing that differences is the experience that you have in one field or another. But we all have received some kind of education. So, in order for you to get experience, they are conditioning you to pass one test.
Okay.
It's not. To me, it's not logical. I mean, you should give a person a chance. If they don't have experience, you should, or if they have experience, you should give a 10-job period chance, and evaluate the progress or the quality of this first 10 jobs, and then you decide if you want to continue with that vendor or not.
Okay. So the translator, what about from the aspect of the translator? What are the chances they can negotiate of not taking a test, or what is there?
The fact is that many times is that you are born to it, because there is no, they don't give you any option.
Okay.
I mean, if that's a condition for you to be in the database, so if they reach to you, but they make you pass a test first,
Okay.
let's say, hey, this is not worthy for me, go and find another person because I have 15 years experience.
Okay.
Usually when there is a very specific project and they ask for and they make a recruitment through Pros or through any other platform, usually they don't do tests, but they evaluate but they take an excerpt from the translation, and they evaluate that excerpt, and then they provide you feedback. That's what I did in my last agency.
Okay.
But if you are contacting them because you are asking for work for them, it is more likely that they ask you for a non-paid test.
Okay.
And that
I've
something
seen
that
everything. I've seen asking me for a free test, as you said, non-paid test. I've been asked to be paid for a test, 10 euros, for example, for its language combination. I've been asked for my credentials, like degrees and portfolio. I've been asked for maybe test already of my past work that I can share with them. So all of these situations, they might apply when you want to work with a new agency or a new client of yours. What I suggest is, as you said, to be very strict with the length of the test, to be very like, who is the client to whom we address and send this test. So if they are a serious company and trustworthy. And of course, as you said, we have to deliver an excellent result. We have to have read it twice and to be able to say that this is an excellent work of ours. So we have to make all of the effort like we could in order to provide an excellent result of our work in that test, because I think it's very important. I've seen everything. I usually accept, even though I have 15 years to take a test. It's no problem. If it's at most maximum 300 words, I don't accept more. And if they have a flexible deadline, not like if they want tomorrow, because most of the times, like, I want to say before we go to the last question, like, I got contacted by a huge company. It's one of the biggest in our field, very, very big one. And they gave me a test of 13 pages. Okay, it was for a lead position. And 13 pages test to test me in like 7 different marketing translation, legal translation, technical translation, everything that I had in order to become a lead language, for example, for the specific department that they wanted me to work. And I told them I don't have time for 13 pages test.
No, it's not.
And I have been contacted by them like several weeks now, every week, to take that test. And it's a huge company, a company that everyone would like to work for. So I told them, like, clearly I don't have the time to translate 13 pages right now. I'm fully booked. And what they suggest is to take only one of their specialization, like the creative one, in order to see if I'm eligible. And the other thing that I saw is that the reviewer of my test is going to be a person who just has a language proficiency test on his CV and LinkedIn profile. That means the reviewer is not even like a university degree holder or hasn't more experience than me. So I don't feel like want to provide this test in order to be tested and reviewed by such a person that doesn't have the qualifications more than mine. I assume like the reviewer should be higher than the translator in order to be able to provide a review.
Or at least equal.
Or at least equal, yeah. I don't know. I don't say that they might not provide a good translation or review, this person.
No.
But the qualification that they have on their profile doesn't show that.
No, of course. I totally agree with you. Let me tell you that it looks to me very suspicious to send a 13-page test to anybody. It's something that I've never...
It's very serious, a very big company. I cannot say the name right now. I can share with you later in the group.
Of course, but
in any case, I wasn't suspicious because I know the company. And I knew that they had opened such a position that I was very interested in undertaking. But 13 pages, okay, come on. Who has the time to do 13 pages?
No,
Even though I was starting up right now, I wasn't able to provide a quality translation of the text that they sent me because they were very, very difficult test. It wasn't something easy.
that's another thing also, that the text chosen to perform a tests are like very detailed, and they have been specifically chosen to put you in a serious situation, because I've never had faced a test where where the text was like so easy to translate that, okay, that's here for you, I
No,
passed. No,
usually they're difficult texts.
no,
Yes.
they are difficult, and that's
Yeah.
something that I will talk in the article that will be published, and
We will share it in the group anyway.
we will share it in the group, and
Mhm.
but yeah, I mean, it's totally unnecessary. I mean, it's sometimes it's so ridiculous how translation industry uses the tests to recruit people. It's just some I can say, I don't have the words to say how
Okay.
so,
Let's go to the last question before
yeah.
we wrap up. How to face negative feedback? That's a very common question. Even if it's wrong or right, how should it's the ideal way a translator to deal with negative feedback?
First of all, read carefully the email. Second of all, breathe. Third of all, go back and find your translation and see if the email there are specific examples of your bad performance. I put it in quotes, and then evaluate. Okay,
Mhm,
that would be the best case scenario. Okay, we have
mhm,
received this negative feedback. They say that these sentences were translated this way. These are wrong because for example, let's say the use of the preposition or the comma here is wrong, or blah blah blah. Okay, they send the feedback, and then we run the
okay.
investigation, and then you have okay, and then you receive, and then you investigate, and then you compare the comments to your translation and see, okay, this change was performed by me or by the reviewer.
Mhm,
This change I might agree with or I might not agree with.
mhm.
And then you send your replies to the project manager pack. That would be the ideal situation. Most of the issues when it comes to negative feedback is because, let's say, a proofreader gives some bad feedback on the translator, and then they just said they say blah blah blah, and recently I've been saying, no, the translator has used machine translation. Is like that's not a good example. Just tell me, where do you think it
Okay.
has
Mhm.
used machine translation?
You have to prove what you
Prove
say.
it. It's like, yeah,
Of
don't
course.
say that is don't say that is machine translated, or that is so bad quality that you have to redo the translation,
Mhm,
because what means redoing the translation? It's like you wanted the job of the translator, or nah. Whenever that's more an advice when you become proofreader, or
mhm,
for the mentees when they do have to do proofreading jobs. Whenever you identify that the translation is bad quality objectively, make a list. It will take you some time, and then, but if you don't have the time to review all, but let's say that in the first 100 words you found so many mistakes that the job really needs to be rewritten, just take those 100 words, take specific examples, and then send it to the project manager,
okay.
and don't continue, because otherwise you are doing a lot of job, and maybe that is creating more issues than if you flag it at the start and say, hey, look, there are 100 words here, this is objectively bad, just send it
Mhm.
to the translator and have rewrite the whole translation again, because otherwise it will, or give me more time and pay me more. So if it needs to be rewritten and then you want me to do it.
Yeah, I have dealt like twice with that. The one time was from a police agency. It was in Poland, Olga, and they provide me bad feedback from my work, but the actual feedback was really bad. So the reviewer didn't know very good Greek. So
Mhm.
I asked them for the credential of the reviewer, because the reviewed translation was even worse than what I have provided. Yeah, I'm sorry, it's Olga too. And I told them that they should be very careful to whom they are sending the text to be reviewed, because the reviewer should be a person with degrees, a person that is qualified for such a position, such a process to do. So I provided them back, and I told them this is it's the worst like case I have ever encountered. And the other case was, it was a very, very difficult project. It was from the US, and to me, the deadline was very strict. I told them that this deadline doesn't secure the quality of the work. If you want me to provide a translation during this time frame, for example, I cannot provide the quality that you want. They were coming back, and we cannot find anyone else, and we really need that. And I told them, okay, I can provide, but this has to be reviewed from a specific, and I told them the qualities of the reviewer in order to provide a quality work. I assume that they didn't give it to a reviewer, so they got bad feedback from the client, and I was ready for that. And I told them, I sent them back my emails with my comments, where I was clearly stated to them that this deadline cannot provide the quality of a project, that it's really needed to be reviewed with this specialization and this language combination in order to be able to provide a good quality in the time frame that you want. So they accepted my comments. I sent them back all my emails, because I was contacted by the CEO of the company to lower my rate. And I told them that I sent you this information before I accept the project, that this and this are the problems with the projects. And I accepted to help you because I was contacted 3 times. So I'm not accepting any, for example, it was a specific situation. And as a result, I won't accept again such a, for negative feedback, all that says, I like to ask a colleague to have a quick look with me and check together if the final translation really bothers a matter of style. I always like to have another opinion, even if it is for some of the exams. Yes, I agree with you, Olga, but to be honest, I'm 15 years in the business. I have 2 negative feedback exams, and these were the 2 ones that I already described you. So I have the security of my past and the good relationships and good translations that I have provided so far. So this gives me the confidence to deal with such negative feedback, because if they are only 2 in the 15 years of my career, I assume, and the 2 of them, one was very bad, the reviewer was it was worse, like they didn't know Greek at all. And the other case scenario was my bad. I shouldn't have accepted, but I wanted to help the client. So I never give it to another translator, because I'm pretty sure of my skills, and because I've never received such a bad feedback from a client before. I don't know if you would like anything else to add, Omid, before
I just think that you mentioned something very important in this case, is that you already prevented that the conditions of the project would not assure the quality. So that's very important for the people who are willing to accept projects with tight deadlines, that they protect themselves of flagging that the conditions given for the project are not assuring the quality of the final translation. So I think that's very important what you did, and it really helps to any translator to protect themselves from the work, because it's not that we are putting like an excuse because in case something goes wrong. No. It's because, hey, it's
the reality.
It's the reality is that you receive a specialized text within less time that it's estimated for the work. So it's more likely that things go wrong at some point.
And it was obvious, because they couldn't find any other translator, where I told them, find another translator. I cannot provide the quality you want in that specific deadline. They didn't find. So I had all the email that I had sent them. They couldn't lower my rate. And I never worked for them, because I found very bad practice what they did during the whole project management. And the CEO wasn't aware of that. So he wasn't aware of the emails, and I had to inform that. I had to inform the CEO of the company about the communication I had with the project managers. So I assume I didn't very good with the project managers, with the CEO, but that wasn't my problem. And Olga says, Suze, I agree with you, Virginia, but I want to understand why it is negative, and I like to investigate. Yes, that's very good practice, and we encourage people, if you receive negative feedback, why not to share that with a colleague that you really trust and you feel that the quality of the work that they provide is like yours. So it's a good practice always. Thank you for sharing that for those that they would like to do the same.
Very, very important for whenever you receive negative feedback. If you just receive, I mean, don't kill the messenger, don't kill the project manager, because what we mostly do is like take the information from the person that has provided negative feedback, and then just send it the same way that the other person has provided the same. Because
yes, I don't say that the project manager is
no, but in the case that, for example, if a reviewer sends me that the translation was a very bad quality because the translator used machine translation, so I have to use the same expression for the translation to know what kind of negative feedback have they provided. And I said, okay, this is what the person said that you did.
Okay.
Look, I am not telling you that you did this as a project manager. I'm not telling you that you did this, but I want you to let me know, of course, if this person is right in what he or she says or not. If there is not any specific example, always request for specific examples.
Of course, not generic feedback. They have to be
Always.
very precise on the changes that they made to your text. I require the feedback from the reviewer, the actual text with the changes.
Me as a project manager, what I do mostly is before I send the feedback to the translator. If it's a generic feedback, I just first ask for specific examples to the proofreader or to the client.
Yes.
And always download the track changes from the proofreader to the translator, and then send it back to the translator.
Thank you so much. It's really helpful. And people are going because we are already live 1 hour and a half. So is there something really quick that you want to add?
No, I just hope that everything that we discussed here was useful to you people. I wish I could explain many more things. Because
we are already live 1 hour and 30 minutes. So
many more things to discuss. But of course, since I will be publishing some of the stuff that we have discussed here, and many more will come during the following months, I just would like to invite you to read the articles on Olga's blog, and of course
on Olga's blog, and we can share the blog link underneath the video, the live.
Sure.
Okay.
And then I will send you now the links for the NIMSI NIMSI top 100 list.
Thank you so much. Omid is a member of the group. He will remain in the group if you have any question to ask him, so you can use the comment section. It was extremely interesting. They say thank you, Francis. Thank you for supporting this live event.
Thank you
for all of you that you were here with us today. The recording will remain in the Mentoring for Translators group, in the Starting Out Translators group, the Greek also group for mentoring, and on the YouTube channel under my name and Facebook page under my name, which are public if you are not a member of the community. Thank you, Olga, too, for helping me be here. And to wrap up, this video is for you if you want to find out how to negotiate rates, how to negotiate the tests with the LSPs, how to find good LSPs, how to contact them the right way, where to find them, and the best way to contact, criteria to distinguish the good from the bad LSPs, how to deal with non-payments with LSPs, how to negotiate the payment terms and the rates with them, and how to avoid the non-payments. Good practices to work with LSPs, and of course, how to negotiate negative feedback and much more. If I'm missing something, you are going to find out in the recording. So bye-bye for now, and see you in the group. Thank you, Omid. Bye.
Thank you.